On a typical mission, astronauts will take many kilograms of different gear into orbit. A spacesuit alone weighs about 100 kilograms. Then you have all the supplies stowed away in the spacecraft, plus any tools or miscellaneous equipment like food, oxygen, medical kits, and specialized tools. But there is one item you might not have expected to be present on a spacecraft: a firearm. Despite the high level of planning involved in space travel, unpredictable situations can still happen, particularly during re-entry and landing. In the 1960s and 70s, the Soviet Union faced challenges with spacecraft landings. Unlike NASA, which used ocean landings and aircraft carriers for astronauts' recovery, Soviet cosmonauts returned to Earth by parachuting onto solid ground. This method carried risks, as capsules sometimes landed far away from designed recovery zones, often in inhospitable and uninhabited regions. One of the most well-documented cases occurred during the Voskhod 2 mission in 1965, when Alexei Leonov made the first-ever spacewalk in human history. Following this historic event, Alexei Leonov and Pavel Belayev experienced an off-course landing in a remote Siberian forest, approximately 1,000 kilometers away from their intended recovery site, attracting unnecessary attention from wolves, bears, and other wildlife that were reportedly in the area. Facing freezing temperatures of -20 degrees Celsius and relying on the spacecraft's limited supplies and ammunition, their only means of defense was a standard-issue Makarov pistol, a compact Soviet sidearm. The forest was dense and the terrain was rugged, making it difficult for the rescue team to reach them quickly. Forced to endure harsh conditions for 2 full days and sleeping inside the capsule overnight before rescue teams arrived, this incident highlighted the need for improved survival equipment, including new firearms. Following the Voskhod 2 incident, the Soviet space program introduced a new firearm, the TP-82 survival pistol. Unlike conventional sidearms, this weapon was specifically designed for use by cosmonauts in emergency situations, featuring 3 barrels, capable of firing rifle rounds, shotgun shells, and flares. It had an effective range of 200 meters and was intended to serve multiple purposes, including hunting for food, self-defense against wild animals, and signaling for rescue. The weapon's removable stock also functioned as a machete, allowing cosmonauts to cut through vegetation if necessary. This firearm remained standard equipment on Soyuz missions until 2007, when Russia transitioned back to conventional semi-automatic pistols, which were simpler and more familiar to cosmonauts. Although firearms have historically been part of space missions, they are not stored within the International Space Station itself that we know of. However, some reports suggest that a firearm may still be included in the emergency survival kit aboard Soyuz capsules, which serve as return vehicles. This means that astronauts from multiple space agencies like NASA, Roscosmos, ESA, and others might technically have access to a weapon during their missions. The question of whether firearms are necessary in modern space travel remains a subject of debate. Advances in precision landing technology, rapid response rescue operations, and modern survival tools have significantly reduced the likelihood of astronauts or cosmonauts being stranded in remote areas. Today, space agencies rely on GPS tracking, satellite communications, emergency beacons, and satellite phones to ensure immediate contact with rescue teams in case of an off-course landing. Also, astronauts often have to work in highly tense and dangerous environments. Managing anxiety, anticipation, stress, anger, and exhaustion can be incredibly challenging, Not every astronaut during the 20th century space race was able to cope with these conditions, and there have been many instances of astronauts experiencing stress, fatigue, even suicidal thoughts. As more challenging missions and roles emerge in the coming decades, it may be time to reconsider the importance of carrying firearms into space. At present, NASA's Orion spacecraft and SpaceX Starship have not publicly disclosed any plans to include firearms in their equipment, but Russian space program may still provide survival weapons for its Soyuz missions, though there is no definitive confirmation on whether they are actively carried today that we know of. The long-term necessity of this practice remains under discussion, and generally speaking, astronauts themselves have not expressed a strong desire to carry guns into space. While firearms have played a unique role in the history of space travel, their future in crewed space missions is still uncertain. As humanity ventures further into space, priorities will likely shift toward advances in safety measures, enhanced landing technologies, and more effective emergency response strategies. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts down below.